2002-18 UTC. What does the YNW Melly account state?
I did that with a smiley emoji.
In terms of what was that in response to from the PZ Gambino account?
Objection.
Overruled. The PZ Gambino account asked him if he was okay, and his response was, I did that, and placed a smiley face emoji.
And the next message from 10/26/2018 at 16:02 from Eastern Standard Time, the YNW Melly account says what?
After that, SHHHH.
And could you please stand and point on the right side of the screen exactly which part you're saying where the YNW Melly account says, I did that?
I did that. This is the thread ID. This is the text. This is the author. And this is the recipient. Then you come down here, same thing. The ID is for the actual message, which is just specific to that one message. Then the thread ID is the actual continuing message. Then come down here to it says text. The SHHHH.
No further questions, Aaron.
Hello, folks. This is the one and only. I think, to be honest, I think it's over for Melly. Okay? This is the reason why. There's just too... If it wasn't for the cell phone is the deciding factor of his faith, according to me. The cell phone has so much evidence on the cell phone with the ping, who picked him up, where they picked him up, and also the video showing him going inside the car. The video after the studio session of him going inside the car with 3 other young men, and then, I mean, just so much compelling evidence. We didn't see him actually shoot anybody, but they showed the cell phone ping and also him communicating with multiple people. He even said, I did that. After they asked him, a fellow rapper asked him, are you okay? Instead of saying, yes, I'm fine, he says, I did that with a smiling emoji. Who does that just a few hours after the murder? You're admitting to what you did, pretty much. So, I mean, I think what's going to happen is, I don't think he's going to get the death penalty. However, I think the juror will found him guilty because of the compelling evidence from the cell phone. The cell phone and the multiple videos, the prosecutor did everything right. They did pretty much everything right. They had experts, they had witnesses. They pretty much had way more than the defense. The defense had nothing. They just had one not credible witness. The witness was definitely not credible. You could tell he was lying because he didn't even make sense. He was like, I don't know where we picked Nelly up from, but he was in the car. We picked him up. But I don't know the street. I can't tell you the street. I can't tell you when. I can't tell you nothing, no timing or nothing. But also when he came inside the house, he was looking for his phone. He couldn't find the phone. But yet we saw a video of him talking to, his girlfriend over video chat. They were talking, and the girlfriend's mother saw him. So to say that it's not Melly's phone and Melly did not have the phone, he was looking for the phone after the murder, is just a complete lie. And there's so much holes to the story. That's why it's just not believable. That witness was not credible at all. He kept saying he was drinking, smoking, and he was sleeping. And he seems like he was just up there just fibbing and lying for Melly by saying, and I know he actually watched the trial. It looked like it was a last-minute thing for them to add him to the list. No, I don't think it's the last minute because the prosecutor actually had the deposition. So they did add. I'm just shocked that the defense team had nobody else. They didn't even have an expert. They had nobody else. They just had one witness, and now this is a wrap. For me, if I was a juror, to be honest, I would find him guilty, 100%. Especially, I think the one deciding factor for me is the fact after the murder, somebody texted him, "Are you okay?" And his response was, "I did that." And then the person didn't respond, and then he said, shh. That right there is admitting you just committed murder. Double murder, double homicide. You just admitted you committed murder on your cell phone. Now, if Track 100, I don't think Track knew what was in the cell phone. I don't think I think there were so much messages on that cell phone. I think Track tried to delete them all, but even though he deleted them all, guess what? Because of technology, you could pull everything, even the ones that are deleted. They could pull everything off the cell phone. Now, if he destroyed the SIM card, that would have been a different story. But he didn't destroy the SIM card. He kind of messed up the phone, damaged the phone, and just deleted everything. But that didn't work. Even if you reset the phone, the information is still there. So I think Track, I'm not saying it's Track's fault. I think he didn't know any better. But the cell phone is definitely the reason why, if he's convicted, that he'll be convicted, because there is just damning evidence in that cell phone. And I mean, oh gosh, this is just terrible. And I don't even feel sorry for him, because right after he said shh, and he put a smiling emoji after the crime. And also, like hours later, you see him at a video shoot, excited and jumping around like he's so excited and happy about what happened. Who does that after a double homicide? That means you show no care, no feeling, nothing. And I think the reason he did that, he was so frustrated with his friends complaining about his mother, and the mother complaining that the friends don't respect him, and then his friends disrespecting him by sending dick pics to his girlfriend. And the friend was doing, but I just didn't understand why he did it to Juvie too, because we don't really hear much from Juvie's cell phone or anything. I think it's because Juvie and the other sack chaser guy was very, very close. And I think that's why he probably, outed him. Again, this is my opinion. Allegedly, it's my opinion. But I think, based off of all the evidence that's presented, if I was in that jury, I would find him guilty, for sure. And I would give him about 10 years in prison, but no death penalty. But definitely give him 10 years in prison. Because he already served 5. So I would say 15 to 20 years, but because he served 5, I would just give him 10 years in prison for what he did. But that's a double homicide. 2 people you killed in a car. You got some nerves and some guts to do that. Like, you got some cojones, like they say in Spanish. But to be honest, this guy, it would be a grace from God if the juries find him not guilty. And I think the reason why they may not find him not guilty, because there's no weapon. But I highly doubt it that they'll find him not guilty, because the defense team did a terrible job. They didn't have no witnesses. They haven't filled any holes there's still unanswered questions like, where were you? During the murders, where were you? What happened? He's still not responding to any of that. Of course, under his direct supervision from his attorneys, don't say anything. But it seems like even the attorneys don't know anything. And I think the attorneys were blindsided because they weren't prepared. They were not prepared. Had they been prepared, they would have brought more witnesses and experts. But those attorneys weren't prepared at all. I think I would have been a better attorney than them, because they weren't prepared at all from my standpoint. It's like they focus on stuff they shouldn't focus on. They basically focus on why the detective was a bad detective, why he didn't do certain things. That's not what we need to be focused on, idiots. You need to focus on, proving that your client didn't do it, not focusing on the detective being bad because he didn't check this, he didn't check that. Like, what the hell is that? That's not even an argument or a defense. You're not his superior. I think that was a weak argument he did yesterday. The witness they had today was terrible. He admitted, we were drinking and smoking and I was sleeping all night. And you could tell he was lying, because the prosecutor said, you don't remember telling me this? You never told me that, what's his name, went in the car. You never said this. This is what you said. And he was like, I don't remember. See, anytime somebody says they don't remember, and that's crazy because the statement was last year. How could you not remember something September of 2022, but yet you remember something that occurred 5 years ago? That makes no sense. Your recollection should be from whatever you said last year in 2022 as opposed to 2016. 2018. That makes no sense to me. So you could tell he was fibbing and he was trying to help his friend, which I could understand. He wants his friend to be out. I could understand, but that was just a weak witness. He was not credible at all, and you could tell he was just trying to help a friend out, even if it's lying under oath, which is perjury, by the way. But they can't charge him for perjury because they don't know if he's lying. But anytime you hear them say, "Oh, I don't remember, I don't recall," and the lady showed him, "This is what you told me." "Oh, I don't remember." How could you not remember? That was last year, dude. Like, come on, guy. So, anyways, my prediction is, since they're wrapping, they rest their case. Basically, Nelly said, yeah, his attorneys did a fine job. He will not testify. Of course he won't. Because we would want to ask some certain questions like, where were you? What were you doing? How the hell did you get out of the situation? How the hell did you avoid bullets? With no scratches, nothing on your body, nothing. Where the hell did you go? And what are these pings? And why did you call Frito? Why did you do this? Why did you do this? He doesn't want to answer those questions because he's guilty. So what I think that this is a case of the juror. The juror is the ultimate decision maker. They will decide his fate. For me, if I was a juror, I would say guilty based off of all the facts that I've seen so far. The prosecutor had a strong case. That's why he was in jail for 5 years. They had a strong case. They had too much. Although it was circumstantial evidence, to me, they had a lot to go by. They convinced me. The defense attorney, I'm sorry, defense attorney didn't convince me of shit. They just convinced me that the witness they brought was not credible. And they focused on the wrong thing. They didn't focus on what they need to focus on, which is proving to me and the jurors and everybody else that he's not guilty. They didn't do that. So therefore, there's a L for the defense team and there's a W for the prosecutor. See, I like the prosecutor because you know what? They have all their stuff. So if they're missing something, they bring stuff. I just don't think the defense team was prepared. I don't think they thought everything through. I don't think they even read all the documents, to be honest, because they seemed blindsided by a lot of stuff that the prosecutors were saying. They seemed blindsided. So this to me tells me that they weren't prepared. And he paid them all this money, and they just wasn't prepared. They weren't prepared to hear what they heard. They weren't prepared. And that's why he lost the case, because they should have, that's probably why they took a freaking few days off last week, because they're not prepared. Clearly, they're not prepared. You bring only one witness, your ass is not prepared. And everything, even all the documents, when they were like, oh no, he spells it D-A-T instead of T-H-A-T. That prosecutor was smart enough to say, you know what? No, that's not true. He does spell it a T-H-T. There's 10 other documents, text messages where he spells it that way. And then guess what happened? So your argument was pretty much diminished. Because your argument, oh, he doesn't spell it that, it was somebody else that typed that. But yet the prosecutor showed you how many times he spelled it that way. Again, the defense team was very weak. I hope they lose their reputation because that was a weak argument. They did nothing to this case. I don't think they did enough. I think they talked more than they actually investigated, than they actually defended or argued with the prosecutor. They did nothing to convince the juror that he's innocent. In fact, they convinced the juror that he's not innocent, that he's guilty, because they still did not fill the holes, the gaps. They didn't do that. And I think it's because they know he was guilty. I think the defense team knows Melly's guilty. That's why they didn't bring out experts. That's why they didn't bring out more witnesses. They know. So, guys, that was my take on it. For me, I think he's going to get 10 to 15 years, but he's not going to get the death penalty. And I think maybe they're going to have the decision by Friday. If not Friday, maybe Monday, but I think it's Friday. What's so crazy about it? He's a Taurus. He has a Scorpio moon and Scorpio Mars. Right now, the South Node is right on his Mars. Mars is anger. Okay? And South Node is letting something go, something, Mars is also movement, transferring, moving somewhere else. So he's probably going to be moving to prison. So, and then Saturn is opposing Mars, and his ruler, which is Venus, because he's a Taurus, his ruler is retrograding this Saturday on July 22nd in the sign of Leo, which is opposing a lot of his planets, because he has Neptune, Uranus. He has a lot of, there's so many stuff that's opposing, that's squaring Leo. So he's going to have a hard time to beat this case. I'm telling you guys, he's going to be found guilty off of circumstantial evidence because of that damn cell phone. If he didn't talk so much, he would have been good. But he wanted a rapper to know that he did that, and then told the rapper, shh, don't tell nobody. Well, he didn't say don't tell nobody, but he said shh. We all know what shh means. Okay? So that's my whole take on it, and that's how I'm going to basically present it. Again, it's not my decision to make. It's the jurors. They can sway either way, but from the compelling evidence, I think he's guilty. They're going to render a verdict of guilty. But if they don't, he's the luckiest person on earth. But even looking at his zodiac sign and everything, he's going to be going to jail. He's going to prison, even with the zodiac sign. Prison time for him, for sure. But let's see what happens. Let's see how this unfolds. Now, if this trial went for next month, it would have been okay. No, he's fine. But it's this week, oh, forget it. The day his sun ruler is going retrograde, he's toast. He's completely toast, guys. Anyways, that was my take. Take care, guys. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the video that came out today, showing his friend, the person that testified today, who's apparently, don't know what he's talking about, have memory lapses or whatever. And then, of course, you're going to see the actual text messages showing what he said after the murder. Okay, so that's what I'm going to show you guys. Thank you. Take care.
The four of you went upstairs, correct? And this young man went into his bedroom.
Yes.
Rephrase.
How many people went upstairs to go to sleep?
30.
And you?
Yeah.
That would be
Me, Jacoby, Melly. Well, no, Melly was downstairs in his room. Me, Jacoby, Fetty, and Tay. So 4 of us.
okay. And Melly went to his bedroom.
Yes.
Did there come a time in the early morning hours that you were woken up and heard some distressing news?
Yes.
Lady here.
That second Julie was shot.
When you heard that, did you see Melly in the house?
Yes.
Did you see Melly how he was dressed in the house?
Yes.
What was he wearing?
Shorts and t-shirt, I think.
Upon hearing that second Julie, and I really should use the correct names, Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas, were shot. What did you guys do?
We already dressed and stuff, so we just left with Fredo's house.
Was anybody upset or crying?
Yeah, we all were crying.
Was this young man crying?
Yes.
Are you sure of that?
Positive.
And where'd you go?
Fredo's house.
That would be Fredo Bang?
Yeah.
You know Fredo Bang's real name? Frederick Gibbons, by any chance?
I think I've seen it.
Did there come a time after you got to the house of Fredo Bang that Cortland Henry showed up?
Yes.
Did Cortland Henry tell you what happened?
Yeah, he said it was a drive-by.
When Cortland Henry arrived at Fredo Bang's house, was Melly there?
Yes.
Did you eventually leave that house?
Yes.
Approximately what time did you leave that house?
I really don't know.
Where'd you go?
Back to Jamel's house.
Who went with you?
Me, Trayvon, Jacoby, and Fetty.
By the way, when you first learned that Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas were shot at the house with Melly, did anyone get on the phone?
Yeah.
Did anyone have any problem locating the phone?
Yes.
Who was that?
Jamel.
You, when I backed up for a minute, you were telling the jury that you went back to Melly's house.
Mm-hmm.
You got in? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
She can't take down. How'd you get in?
The door was unlocked.
Were you aware whether or not Melly had a contractual agreement to do a video shoot that day?
Yeah, it was something like that. I know he probably lost a lot of money if he didn't go to the music video. He was upset.
Was Melly crying at Fredo Bang's house?
Yes.
Were you crying?
Yes.
Because you all grew up together.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Now, did you in fact tell this, what happened on October 25th and 26th to this particular prosecutor?
Yes.
Were any of us, any of the lawyers present?
Objection relevance.
Did you tell the prosecutor, when you spoke to the prosecutor, were you under oath,
Yes.
sworn to tell the truth?
Yes.
Objection about the rules, right?
Are you 100% sure
Objection has been answered.
that Melly got into the red Mitsubishi to go home?
Yes.
Are you 100% sure that this young man learned of the shooting of his friends at the exact same time you learned of it?
Yes.
And that was at the house?
Yes.
Are you 100% sure that when people were getting on the phone, that this young man was looking for his phone to call people?
Yes.
May I have one moment, please? Yes. I have no further questions.
Counsel, is there any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're ready to make your seat?
Yeah. Mr. Davis, you said you're 100% sure that Mr. Dennis found out at the same time you did.
Yes.
No questions about that. You're sure he was at the house.
Yes.
And you were upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
He was upstairs.
Yes.
But you're sure he was there. You could see.
Mhm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
And you are 100% sure his phone was missing.
Yes.
Where in the statement on May 5th did you ever say that?
Objection.
Mr. Judge,
It was never asked.
thank you. Counsel, I guess the objection to proper impeachment, so rephrase your question.
So you met with me on May 5th, 2022. You remember that?
Yes.
And you remember sitting down. You were present. That's yes.
Yes.
Your two attorneys were present that you brought. That's yes.
Yes.
And I asked you questions for quite a number of hours. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember being asked if you had met with anyone else with regards to this case?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember being asked if you had met prior to speaking with me with the attorney sitting over to my left?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know who they were, and my lawyers told you that.
Okay.
I didn't know their names.
But you remember meeting with them?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you remember asking and being asked a question about what you talked about with them?
Yes.
Did you remember what you told them?
No.
Do you remember what you told them now?
Yes.
So are you telling this jury that when you were speaking with me, you forgot?
As in, what I'm telling them now, as of right now, yes.
So on the phone on that, do you remember Mr. Devins having a passcode on his cell phone that night?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? And in terms of, if you surprised to find that there was one on that cell phone,
No.
did you know the passcode?
I don't think so. I don't even remember if we have one. We all use this phone sometimes. We all use each other's phones.
So you would use his cell phone? Why?
Talk to females.
You pretend he had to get women, but you couldn't get them on your own?
Objection.
Why would you use his phone?
Let me rule before you ask the next question, all right? It's over, go ahead, answer your question. Ask the next question.
So, with regards to your living situation there, you were not paying any rent, right?
Oh, no.
And nobody was paying any rent in that house except for the defendant.
No, for sure.
So, do you remember that evening driving to the studio?
Yes.
You remember who was in which car?
On the way there, yes.
And you remember who was on each car on the way back?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any threats that were made to anyone that night?
No, ma'am.
Did anyone have any other conversations or discussions about threats from outside parties?
No, ma'am.
Is anyone worried about their safety?
No, ma'am. But Melly's a rapper, you know, he's always going to be a target. I said he's a rapper, so he's always going to be a target.
Okay. And do you remember stopping on the side of the road?
Yes.
Where did you stop?
I don't remember. It's like flashes and blinks, drinking and smoking, so I just know we stopped.
You know you stopped.
Yeah.
And do you remember if that was on a highway?
Not at all.
Okay, do you remember if it was on a divided 4-lane road?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember if you guys were using GPS to get home?
No, ma'am.
And do you remember if you knew the route home?
No.
Okay. Do you remember what phone number you had back then?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember your phone number?
5 years ago, so.
Okay. Do you remember if you were awake or asleep?
Just told you. We were asleep.
You were asleep.
Yeah.
And you said you were intoxicated?
You didn't answer out loud.
Yes.
Do you know why your car stopped?
No.
Do you have any conversation?
If y'all live in Texas, you don't want to miss this. I've been getting $1,400 from the Gov every month.
Messages with the defendant?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a phone call with him?
No, ma'am.
When you stopped, was the Great in front of the investigation?
Yeah, I believe so.
Have you ever answered that question differently?
I don't think so.
If I were to show you your statement from May 5th, 2022, would that help you in answering if you'd ever said something different than what you just testified?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, approaching with page 33 of the statement, counsel. Will you please silently to yourself